when you look at their tablets and like, what are they saying? And why would they dedicate so much time to talking about this stuff?
There's a scientific discovery that certain people in power definitely want buried. It all starts with the famous Anunnaki tablets, those ancient clay relics from Sumeria. You've probably heard the wild stories of gods who descended from the sky, but what you haven't heard is what scientists found when they ran DNA tests on the clay itself. It's a biological message, a genetic fingerprint left behind by our supposed creators. The code they uncovered proves we are not who or what we think we are, and the truth is absolutely terrifying. The Anunnaki's ancient secret. The machine they were using was a marvel of modern science, capable of sequencing even the most degraded fragments of DNA. It had recently been used to identify DNA from a 2,900-year-old brick, a massive breakthrough. Finch's team was applying that same tech to these tablets. They focused on a tiny, almost invisible stain embedded in the clay, a place where a fingerprint might have been pressed thousands of years ago. The most shocking fact is that for DNA to survive that long, it needs perfect conditions: cold, dry, and dark. The inside of a sun-baked clay tablet in the desert is the absolute worst place you could imagine. Yet the machine was beeping. It had found something, a complete, complex genetic sequence. But not all things are what they seem. As the code scrolled across the screen, a chilling silence fell over the lab. This wasn't human DNA. It wasn't from any known animal or plant on the planet. The team ran it through every genetic database in the world, a process that takes mere seconds. The result came back with two words that made the blood run cold: no match. You see, every living thing on Earth shares a common genetic ancestor. From a person to a housefly to a banana, we are all related. This DNA shared nothing with us. It was alien, built on a different framework. It had markers indicating it was artificially edited, almost like a piece of software. It contained genes that would, in theory, allow an organism to live for hundreds, if not thousands of years by boosting cellular regeneration beyond anything known to nature. The genetic structure was also impossibly complex, containing over 200,000 genes, whereas humans have around 20,000. To put it mildly, what they were looking at shouldn't be possible. The team was terrified. They checked for contamination, running over 100 different tests. Every test came back negative. The DNA was ancient and it had been sealed within the clay tablet since the day it was made. It was a message in a bottle, a genetic blueprint left by the Anunnaki, and it confirmed their role as creators in the most direct way imaginable. The myths, it turned out, were not stories. They were lab notes. But the discovery of the code was just the beginning. What shocked everyone at first soon gave way to an even deeper mystery, one that cut closer to home than anyone dared to imagine. Hidden within the alien DNA was a small section that seemed strangely familiar. It was dormant, silent, almost like a switch that had never been turned on. But when scientists ran deeper analyses, they realized something impossible. This fragment wasn't alien at all. It was human. More precisely, it was an exact match to a peculiar, unclassified strand of junk DNA found in every human being on Earth. For decades, geneticists had dismissed this section as meaningless, a leftover from evolution, a biological glitch without purpose. But now suddenly it wasn't just data, it was a message. The so-called junk DNA was no accident. It was identical to the alien code, as if both had been written by the same hand. That's when the real panic began. If our DNA carried the same encrypted marker as the alien genome, what did that mean for humanity's origin story? Was it coincidence or connection? Scientists started calling it the signature sequence. It acted like a manufacturer's stamp, a sign that the same intelligence that engineered the alien life form had also tampered with our genetic blueprint. This revelation changed everything. Theories that were once ridiculed, ancient astronaut hypotheses, seeded life theories, directed evolution, suddenly didn't seem so ridiculous. The data was undeniable. Someone or something had been here before us. Someone had shaped not only life out there, but life down here. Governments tried to contain the findings, releasing vague statements about possible contamination, but behind closed doors, panic spread through research institutions. Quietly, the world's top geneticists began to re-examine the human genome, searching for more signatures, more clues hidden in plain sight. And here's the most disturbing part. That dormant switch in our DNA? It wasn't truly dormant. When exposed to specific frequencies, tones found in the alien signal, it began to respond. The code flickered to life as if waiting for a call that had finally come through. The impossible code was just the first part of a terrifying puzzle. A legacy of control. The lab felt less like a place of science and more like a tomb. The air was thick with a new kind of fear. The fear of knowing. The Anunnaki were real. That fact alone was enough to break the foundations of history, religion, and evolution. But what Dr. Finch and his team uncovered next was far more personal and infinitely more disturbing. They focused their attention on that signature sequence, the piece of Anunnaki DNA that matched the so-called junk DNA in the human genome. They realized it wasn't just a stamp, it was a receiver, a dormant biological link between its creators and their creation. Many people are crazy about the idea of ancient aliens, but the reality was looking less like an exciting space adventure and more like a biological prison. Using advanced computer simulations, the team modeled what would happen if this dormant sequence were activated. The results were, to be blunt, horrifying. The sequence appeared to be a master switch for human obedience. It connected directly to the parts of the brain that govern belief, loyalty, and tribalism. If activated, it could theoretically make a population incredibly passive and easy to control. Or with a different trigger, it could spark extreme fanatical devotion. It was a genetic leash. The Sumerian texts, when reread in this new light, told a grim story. They spoke of the Anunnaki creating humanity to be workers, to mine gold for them. The gods were constantly worried about humans becoming too numerous or too independent. What better way to control your workforce than to build a backdoor into their very DNA? And you can see this everywhere, even in the myths. Take the story of the Tower of Babel. In the tale, humanity unites to build a tower to the heavens. The gods, fearing their power, strike them down by confusing their languages. But what if it wasn't about language? What if the tower was a metaphor for humanity reaching a new level of consciousness, of breaking free from their programming? And what if the gods simply flipped a genetic switch that fractured their unity, turning them against one another? The most shocking fact is that the genes for tribalism and us versus them thinking are incredibly powerful in humans, often overriding logic. The evidence was suggesting this wasn't an accident of evolution, it was a deliberate design feature. The team also found something else. The Anunnaki DNA contained what they started calling longevity packets. These were bundles of genes that, if inserted into a human, could drastically slow the aging process. This perfectly matched the Sumerian king lists, which described their earliest rulers, demigods who were part Anunnaki, living for over 28,000 years. For example, the legendary King Gilgamesh was described as two-thirds god. He was obsessed with finding immortality. The texts frame this as a tragic quest, but maybe it was just a story about a hybrid being trying to reactivate the full genetic inheritance his creators enjoyed. The thing nobody tells you is that these myths might not be allegories. They could be the fragmented memories of a time when beings with incredibly long lifespans walked the earth and ruled over a genetically engineered servant race. Us. The implications were staggering. Was every war, every act of division, every moment of blind faith just an echo of our ancient programming? Were we ever truly free? The myths now pointed to a terrifying purpose for our creation. When the world finds out. News of this magnitude cannot be contained. A junior researcher on Finch's team, overwhelmed by the discovery, leaked the initial findings to an online forum. Within 24 hours, the Anunnaki DNA was the biggest story on the planet. The initial reaction was pure chaos. Many people are crazy about uncovering the truth, and this seemed to be the ultimate truth. Global markets plunged as people questioned the very nature of their existence. Religious organizations went into crisis mode, trying to reconcile millennia of faith with the sudden, stark evidence of biological creators who were not the benevolent gods they worshipped. To put it mildly, society began to unravel. But then something strange happened. A coordinated counter-narrative began to emerge. You see, powerful institutions don't like to have their authority challenged. Almost overnight, a wave of articles and official-sounding reports appeared, all aimed at discrediting Dr. Finch and his team. Famous scientists, some of whom had never even worked with ancient DNA, went on television to call the findings an obvious contamination and a reckless hoax. Finch's lab was suddenly shut down for an internal review. His data was seized. The original tablets were removed from the museum and taken to an undisclosed location for further verification. The junior researcher who leaked the story vanished. His online profiles were deleted and his family claimed he'd gone on a long, unplanned vacation. The thing nobody tells you is how quickly and efficiently the truth can be buried when it's inconvenient. Official government spokespeople from several countries issued joint statements urging calm and dismissing the Anunnaki theory as dangerous misinformation. They warned that such ideas could lead to social unrest. What many overlooked was the sheer speed and coordination of this response. It was as if they had a plan ready to go for exactly this kind of scenario. And you can see this everywhere in history. Any discovery that fundamentally challenges the structure of power is quickly labeled a threat. From Galileo to modern-day whistleblowers, the pattern is always the same. The most shocking fact wasn't the cover-up itself, but how many people willingly accepted it. They wanted to believe things were normal. The idea of being a genetically engineered slave race was simply too much to handle. It was easier to believe Finch was a fraud than to accept that all of human history was a lie. People went back to their lives, clinging to the official story because the alternative was unthinkable. The story of the Anunnaki DNA became just another conspiracy theory, a wild tale for late-night internet forums. But for those who had seen the data, who knew the truth, the world would never be the same. They now lived with the chilling knowledge that an unseen hand had not only shaped our past, but was still actively manipulating our present to keep us in the dark. But was the truth really buried, or was it just hidden again? Facing the dawn. So let's talk directly about this. People watching this are likely wondering, could something like this happen overnight? Could one discovery really change everything we know? The thing is, when you peel back all the layers of drama and conspiracy, you're left with a very simple and very uncomfortable question. Are we alone in our own history? Is it possible that we are missing a key detail about our own origins? The story of the Anunnaki DNA, whether you believe it as fact or fiction, forces us to confront that question. It taps into a deep-seated feeling that the official version of our past just doesn't add up. Many people are crazy about ancient mysteries, but the real mystery isn't in pyramids or stone circles. It's inside us. It's in that 98% of our DNA that scientists once dismissed as junk. We now know much of it serves regulatory functions, but vast portions remain a complete puzzle. What if that puzzle contains chapters of our history we were never meant to read? The narrative of Dr. Finch's discovery is a thought experiment. It takes real scientific breakthroughs, like pulling DNA from ancient bricks, and pushes them one step further. But the core of the story isn't about alien DNA, it's about human potential and human control. What many overlooked in the chaos of the discovery is the ultimate implication. If we were created, it means we were created for a purpose. And if that purpose was to be servants, then freedom isn't our birthright. It's something we have to claim. The idea of a genetic obedience switch is terrifying, but it's also a powerful metaphor. How much of our behavior is dictated by social programming? How often do we act out of tribal instinct rather than reason? Perhaps the Anunnaki aren't alien gods from another planet. Perhaps they are a symbol for the systems of control, political, religious, and economic, that have shaped human civilization for millennia, pitting us against each other to keep us from realizing our own power. The most shocking fact might be that we don't need ancient aliens to explain our self-destructive tendencies. We've been acting out the same patterns of conflict and control for thousands of years, all on our own. Or have we? Is it crazier to believe in ancient gods from the sky, or to believe that all of human history has been a complete accident? Let us know your thoughts below. Like and subscribe.